Hello and welcome to 18 WJTS-Inform. Patoka Lake is a vital part of our community. We're going to find out about how you can help keep it clean in this edition of WJTS-Inform. Joining me in the studio is John Wade. John is the chairman of the Patoka Lake Watershed. He's also on the board for Patoka Lake Water and Sewer, correct?
Correct.
All right, John, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I sure appreciate you giving us time to kind of plug our cleanup.
Well, we're glad to do it, and this cleanup is something that happens every year. And first of all, let's talk about what the watershed has to do with the cleanup. Then we'll give the details for the cleanup because you'll want to be part of the cleanup.
Yes. Well, basically, of course, it all concerns the lake itself. And let's talk a little bit about the lake. The lake, 8,800 acre lake. It was formed back with the Corps of Engineers. They started in '72, and I think they finished in '79. It's the second largest man-made lake in Indiana. And okay, why would be concerned with the Watershed Committee and this cleanup and trying to keep the lake clean? Well, there's several reasons. A couple would be, first of all, economics. Basically, as of today, over $140 million have been saved in flood control because of that lake. Now, that's not a drop in the bucket.
No.
And also $14 million is spent annually within a 30-mile radius of that lake. Again, that's not a drop in the bucket. And supposedly about 190 jobs are a result of that lake. So economically, it's very important. But what about recreational? Well, there are supposedly about 750,000 people that use that lake every year. Again, all those people are spending money probably within the area. Well, that's one part, but another very important part is drinking water. In 1975, the Patoka Lake Regional Water Sewer was formed, and as of today, they are pumping around 8 million gallons of water a day. They're pumping it out to approximately 11 different counties. They're affecting over 23 wholesale dealers. They got 31,000 households, over 100,000 people, and 900 miles of pipeline. So when you imagine 100,000 people and the drinking water, how important that has become, that is really a positive part of that lake.
Now, you're part of the watershed, which is not just Patoka Lake, it's also the streams that flow into it, because you got to keep that lake filled.
Correct. There are many tributaries. There's 10 tributaries coming into that lake. And one of our original plans as a watershed committee was we monitored 9 of those different tributaries coming into the lake. We wanted to see what was going in. So we were looking at the chemical part. We were looking at little critters that lived in there, because if it's good water, you're going to have dragonflies and that kind of thing. If it's bad water, you're going to have bloodworms and that. So that tells you a lot about the water quality. So we monitored it for 3 years, and come to find out, setting pretty good, no problems, this kind of thing. So that was with a grant from IDEM. When that grant ended in 2010, we put in for an application for another one. Well, we didn't really have an impaired water. So when we were contested with other ones that had impaired water, we just didn't get the grant. But we thought, well, we're not going to stop. This is 2010, we're going to continue. So much of the tasks that we had with the grant, we continued. We're doing water sampling, and the cleanup is one, and we're trying to work up some informational PowerPoints of the watershed so people can be aware of not only the lake, but what makes up the lake.
Now let's talk about the cleanup, which is coming up next week, next Saturday,
26th.
August 26th.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This is you do this once a year.
Yes.
And you've done this many years.
11th year.
Okay, and this is where volunteers show up and clean Patoka Lake and into the tributaries a little bit, or just Patoka Lake?
Somewhat into the tributaries. And to give you an idea, okay, this is the 11th year, 10 years. Right now we've had 733 volunteers, and they've collected over 30,300 pounds of trash. So again, that's pretty substantial. But yeah, basically what it's going to be is come the 26th of August, we'll ask everyone to meet at 8 a.m. over at Hoosier Hills Marina, which is right off 545. And this year, what we've done, and last year, is we've actually placed out signs along the highway in case people aren't familiar with the area. They can be directed to Hoosier Hills Marina. Okay, 8 a.m., you'll come. We welcome church groups, scouts, families, bring your kids, anyone that wants to go out, have a good day. Hopefully we'll have a nice weather and enjoy a good meal afterwards. So you check in, register, then we'll move you over. We'll have a conservation officer there. He'll kind of explain to you about maybe don't pick up this if it's drug oriented, looks anything like that, leave it. We'll come back and take care of that later. So he'll talk about that. Then we'll move on, and each one is giving a map, and we have like 6 different designated areas on the map already. So they'll pretty well know what area they're going to. We'll give them to the next site would be grabbers, bug spray, the bags, that type of thing, and then water or whatever they want to take. Then they'll go out and they'll do their cleanup, and probably 3 hours, about 11:30, come on back, leave all your trash along the highway. We'll come and pick it up. Last year we started recycling, and this year we're continuing, but the thing about last year, we had recycling in different bags and it really got bulky. So this year you throw the trash, whatever it is in the bag. Crawford County Solid Waste, once they get the bag back, they'll be separating all the recyclables. So once you get back, we'll have prizes, and what we've done this year, we'll kind of randomly pick as people signed up, and there'll be prizes given them, because before, when they're out there, when people are back and they're having lunch or so, we're kind of breaking that in by saying, giving out prizes. Well, this way they'll look at the board and they already know they have a prize, so we don't have to bother them that prize. And then so we'll have a little music, we have a good meal, and sit down and just enjoy yourself.
So, and you need volunteers.
Oh, yes.
And there's no real restrictions. Just show up, right?
No restrictions. Of course, if you have a younger group, we would like to have adults there. But basically also we'll be collecting along the highway too, so we have vests for everybody. The conservation officers will be out there monitoring. Also some of the Patoka Lake Water and Sewer District, they'll be picking up the bags and that kind of thing. Once we get all the bags back together and then they start separating the recycle, then we'd like to have a group picture each year. And so like last year, I think we had about 125 volunteers, and they picked up about 2,000 pounds of trash. The thing is, we picked up 13 tires along with it. That seems like tires are always the ones that are left out there. So yes, please come, rain or shine, we're going to have it. Come in the morning, check in, go on out, pick up some trash, leave it on the road, come back in, look if you got a prize. We got goodie bags to give out, have a meal, little music. 1 o'clock, should be over, you can go back home.
Now, do you need anything other than bodies? Do you need boats? Do you need anything like that?
No, when we first started off, we concentrated a little on the shorelines, and we would put some people into boats. Mm-hmm. But what's happened now is a lot of the shorelines are, the trash, according to the wind and all that, is blowing more toward the highways and this type of thing. So we're concentrating more on that because that seems to be where more of the trash is. If it looks like we may have trash, then we could go out, yes, in a boat and do that. But we've kind of backed off of that.
Okay, so mostly we're going to get there, I'm going to get an assignment, and then I'm going to be told to go here, and I can drive to it.
Correct.
Or maybe walk to it, whatever, and then pick up my trash and put it up on the road and come back and have a meal.
Correct. And in case you're not familiar with, we would have somebody that would kind of show you how, or you could follow them to the site. It's amazing, though, how we got to make sure, because these people are so good, they'll pick up an area and have it done, so we got to get them somewhere else. So, I mean, which is good. But the whole thing is, hey, we want everybody to have a good time. And again, when you look at the lake and you look at the importance of the lake, this is a small part of it, but it's a major part, because you have a visitor come there, what's the first thing he may see? Any trash that lays along the lake, and that's not good for the communities.
Well, and some of what's in it for me sort of a deal is, you know, if you've ever noticed in the past that sometimes Patoka water may smell or taste a little funky, you know, really, this is one small thing you can do to help with that, but you've also implemented some plans or
yes.
some equipment that changes some of that.
Correct.
But every little bit you do, so you can play a part by doing this.
Well, and I'd be willing to bet that most of your viewers, or I'd say very few, have not been on Patoka in one way or the other. So
or get the water.
Yeah, it's not like it's a small thing. It's not just Du Bois County, Orange County, Crawford. It's the state of Indiana a lot of times, and even out of state where visitors come.
Okay, now, while we have the chance, and I know it's a little separate from it, what has Patoka Water done to keep the water from smelling? Because I haven't noticed it lately.
Well, yeah, basically they've kind of developed. They've been kind of the head of the system, and about 3 or 4 years ago, they spent a fair amount of money upgrading to ultraviolet light. And what this does is, and also I mentioned that we're also monitoring the lake. So they're taking samples of the lake, and they have an instrument that can tell them, hey, you know, here's some critters that may be looking at to us to have some taste and odor. So rather than wait, they can now take that ultraviolet light, which is the last thing as it passes out into the system, and they can turn it up, turn it down, depending on how much of that taste and odor potential problem can be. So that has helped tremendously as far as controlling taste and odor.
Okay, now let's get back to the cleanup again. It's
Yes.
Saturday, August 26th.
Correct.
Starts at 8 o'clock Eastern time, correct?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
8 o'clock Eastern time. Yeah, very important.
And if you can only help for an hour, that helps. But if you can stay the whole day, you'll want to, because there's a lot of fun involved.
Right.
Yeah.
I realize people have certain things that they have to do maybe during that day. Yes, if you want to come for that particular an hour, 2 hours, that's fine. Just come back, make sure you get your goodie bag, and check for a prize.